can say your name first, and that person's last name will be.
I'll tell you what I look forward to. I know we all look forward to it, and that's the resurrection. To see Bible characters that we know so well, but really we don't know them. But to see them and to talk to them would be marvellous. And what I would like to see, whether it will happen or not, I don't know. I'd love to employ Noah and his family to build a life-size ark, just as it was. And inside that ark would be a museum. And then I would employ Solomon, and maybe his dad as he collected all the materials, and construct a life-size temple inside the ark. Now that's possible, because I've done the calculations, and you could get 12 temples to fit inside the ark. Amazing, isn't it? The ark was that big. Now what else would I do? Well, I would have occasional drama enactments. Could you imagine Elisha raising the Shulamite boy? Actually him doing it with a young lad. And then the boy sneezes 7 times as he comes back to life, and the mother hears those sneezes from the other room. And she's overjoyed. It'd be a marvellous enactment, wouldn't it? What about Daniel? Imagine Daniel wheeling in, say, 2 or 3 lions. They'll be tame then. That would be great. In fact, when I was in Las Vegas years ago, they actually had an untethered lion in the MGM hotel. So, you backing me? So, he's had enough of me already. So wouldn't it be lovely to see all these resurrected ones working with inside a living museum?
Thank you. Yeah, mine's simple. I'd like to be or see Jesus' miracles. But personally, I want to go and build a log cabin for me and my wife. Something I've always wanted to do. And I'd like it near Canada. And that's it.
Well, like, I forgot his name. Daniel. Shouldn't be hard to forget, should it? Daniel. Won't be hard to remember.
You'd like a new memory like me.
That's what I'd like, a good memory. I like, same as Daniel, the resurrection, and for 2 reasons. I last saw my dad when I was 3½, because he went off to do what he thought was right at the time when the Second World War first broke out. So he was killed actually when I was 7, but I haven't seen him since I was 3½, because he never came home again. And so I'd just love to get to know my dad. And I'm sure I will do, because he only did what he thought was right at the time, and I'm sure he will be there in the resurrection. And then there's my wife, of course, which I lost not too long ago this year. And we always used to joke that she wouldn't cross the Trent, because she didn't like crossing. She liked being water rather than on it, she says. Although I did get her in a boat on Lake Windermere once, one holiday, but we could never get her to go anywhere. We even tried to get her to go to Isle of Wight, my son and I, and she wouldn't go. She just wouldn't go on a boat. So what I want to do is, in the resurrection, get Mary to go on a boat across the sea to somewhere, just to enjoy that.
I'll to follow that. Well, for me, it's more a matter of the actual physical creation. And there's a place I really want to go. I don't know if you've heard of it, Derek. It's right up, 12,000 feet above sea level, right in the Andes Mountains. And it's this area called the Sala de Uyuni. And
It's so flat that the whole place across it, 4 square miles, and it drops 3 4 across it. So it's so flat that NASA uses it as satellite base, and all the altimeters on all the planes in the world are set from this place. And it's unique in one way. It's up to 4 foot thick in salt. But when water touches it, it turns into a mirror. So each morning, when the dew comes back up, the canopy is back in place, this 4 square miles will turn into a perfect mirror. And what nests there are just flocks and flocks of pink flamingos. But can you imagine flocks of pink flamingos flying above the perfect mirror? That's something I've got to see, and I've got to reflect on that creation.
Once again, can you follow those? But what I'd like to see, first of all, is Jehovah's name vindicated, as I'm sure we all would like today, and also to be able to be among peaceful conditions and the animals as well. We're going to be able to see the freedom of the animals that we don't see today.
Not left much for me to ask for. I'd like to see a lot of sick people that I've known come back in perfect health, because they did struggle for many years with many pains and grievances, injuries. They saw their own children killed in warfare, and it'd be lovely to see that unitedness of peace under God's rule, because Jehovah said he'll bring peace to all the earth, and the tears will be forgotten. So if we can think about anyone that we love dearly, to see them die in agony through an incurable disease. We hear of other people dying wretched deaths because they can't afford the treatment. And the whole world is in distress now, getting worse. So that's what I want to be able to do, move around amongst everybody, and everyone will be a Jehovah's Witness. We'll all be fit, and we can all praise Jehovah unitedly forever. So there's no end to the story. There is an end to me. So I'll pass it back to who's
dramatised, I want you all to put yourselves in the position of Ruth and Naomi as you watch their true loyalty and love in action and how it brought rich blessings from Jehovah God. Now please note that the narration is based on the previous version of the New World Translation of the Holy Scriptures. Our drama starts now with Naomi and her family as they travel to Moab.
Now it came about in the days when the judges administered justice that a famine arose in the land, and a man proceeded to go from Bethlehem in Judah to reside as an alien in the fields of Moab, he with his wife and his 2 sons. And the man's name was Elimelech, and his wife's name Naomi, and the names of his 2 sons were Mahlon and Kilion, Bethlehemites from Bethlehem in Judah. Eventually they came to the fields of Moab and continued there. In time Elimelech, the husband of Naomi, died, so that she remained with her 2 sons. Later the men took wives for themselves, Moabite women. The name of the one was Orpah, and the name of the other Ruth. And they went on dwelling there for about 10 years. In time the 2 of them, Mahlon and Chilion, also died, so that the woman remained without her 2 children and her husband. And she proceeded to get up with her daughters-in-law and to return from the fields of Moab, for she had heard in the field of Moab that Jehovah had turned his attention to his people by giving them bread. And she went away out from the place where she had continued. And both of her daughters-in-law were with her, and they kept walking on the road to return to the land of Judah. Finally, Naomi said to both of her daughters-in-law,
Go, return each one to the house of her mother. May Jehovah exercise loving kindness toward you, just as you have exercised it toward the men now dead, and toward me. May Jehovah make a gift to you, and do you find a resting place, each one in the house of her husband.
Then she kissed them, and they began to raise their voices and weep. And they kept saying to her,
With you we shall return to your people.
Return, my daughters. Why should you go with me? Do I still have sons in my inward parts? And will they have to become your husbands? Return, my daughters. Go, for I have grown too old to get to belong to a husband. If I had said, I had hoped also that I should certainly become a husband tonight, and also should certainly bear sons, would you keep waiting for them until they could grow up? Would you keep yourself secluded for them so as not to become a husband? No, my daughters, for it is very bitter to me because of you that the hand of Jehovah has gone out against me.
At that they raised their voices and wept some more, after which Orpah kissed her mother-in-law. As for Ruth, she stuck with her. So she said,
Look, your widowed sister-in-law has returned to her people and her gods. Return with your widowed sister-in-law.
Do not plead with me to abandon you, to turn back from accompanying you. For where you go, I shall go, and where you spend the night, I shall spend the night. Your people will be my people, and your God, my God. Where you die, I shall die, and there is where I shall be buried. May Jehovah do so to me and add to it if anything but death should make a separation between me and you.
When she got to see that she was persistent about going with her, then she left off speaking to her. And they both continued on their way until they came to Bethlehem. And it came about that as soon as they came to Bethlehem, all the city became stirred up over them. And the women kept saying,
Is this Naomi?
Do not call me Naomi. Call me Mara, for the Almighty has made it very bitter for me. I was full when I went, and it is empty-handed that Jehovah has made me return. Why should you call me Naomi, when it is Jehovah that has humiliated me, and the Almighty that has caused me calamity?
Thus Naomi made her return, Ruth the Moabite woman, her daughter-in-law being with her when returning from the fields of Moab. And they came to Bethlehem at the commencement of barley harvest. Now Naomi had a kinsman of her husband, a man mighty in wealth, of the family of Elimelech, and his name was Boaz. In time Ruth the Moabite woman said to Naomi,
Let me go, please, to the field and glean among the ears of grain, following after whoever it is in whose eyes I may find favor.
Go, my daughter.
At that she went off and entered and began to glean in the field behind the harvesters. Thus, by chance, she lighted on the tract of the field belonging to Boaz, who was of the family of Elimelech. And look, Boaz came from Bethlehem and proceeded to say to the harvesters,
Jehovah be with you.
Jehovah bless you. Yes, Boaz. Jehovah bless you.
Subsequently, Boaz said to the young man who sat over the harvesters,
To whom does this young woman belong?
The young woman is a Moabitess who returned with Naomi from the field of Moab. Then she said, Let me glean, please, and I shall certainly gather among the cut-off ears of grain behind the harvesters. So she entered and kept on her feet from that time in the morning until her sitting down just now in the house a little while.
Later Boaz said to Ruth,
You have heard, have you not, my daughter? Do not go away to glean in another field. And you must also not cross over from this place, and in that way you should keep close by my young women. Let your eyes be on the field that they will harvest, and you must go with them. Have I not commanded the young men not to touch you? When you are thirsty, you must also go to the vessels and drink from what the young men will draw.
At that, she fell upon her face and bowed down to the earth and said to him,
How is it I have found favor in your eyes so that I am taken notice of, when I am a foreigner?
The report was fully made to me of all that you have done to your mother-in-law after the death of your husband, and how you proceeded to leave your father and your mother and the land of your relatives, and to go to a people whom you had not known formerly. May Jehovah reward the way you act, and may there come to be a perfect wage for you from Jehovah, the God of Israel, under whose wings you have come to seek refuge.
Let me find favor in your eyes, my Lord, because you have comforted me, and because you have spoken reassuringly to your maidservant, although I myself may not happen to be like one of your maidservants.
And Boaz proceeded to say to her at mealtime,
Approach here, and you must eat some of the bread and dip your piece in the vinegar.
So she sat down beside the harvesters, and he would hold out roasted grain to her, and she would eat, so that she was satisfied and yet had something left over. Then she got up to glean. Boaz now commanded his young men, saying,
Let her glean also among the cut-off ears of grain, and you must not molest her. And you should also be sure to pull out some from the bundles of ears for her, and you must leave them behind, that she may glean them. And you must not rebuke her.
And she continued to glean in the field until the evening, after which she beat out what she had gleaned. And it came to be about a heap for a bar. Then she took it up and went into the city, and her mother-in-law got to see what she had gleaned. After that, she took out what food she had left over, when she had satisfied herself, and gave it to her. Her mother-in-law now said to her,
Where did you glean today? And where did you work? May the one who took notice of you become blessed.
The name of the man with whom I work today is Boaz.
Blessed be he of Jehovah, who has not left his loving kindness for the living and the dead. The man is related to us. He is one of our repurchasers.
He also said to me, Close by the young people that are mine is where you should keep, until they have finished the entire harvest that I have.
It is better, my daughter, that you should go out with his young women, that they may not annoy you in another field.
And she continued to keep close by the young women of Boaz to glean, until the harvest of the barley and the harvest of the wheat came to an end. And she kept on dwelling with her mother-in-law.
Naomi and Ruth are poor, but the Mosaic Law contained a loving provision for disadvantaged ones to glean food from the fields. In accord with Leviticus chapter 19, verses 9 and 10, this provision was available even to Ruth, an alien resident. It so happened that Ruth gleaned in the field of Boaz, a faithful man, the son of Rahab, the former harlot who was spared when Jericho fell. Recall that Naomi told Ruth that Boaz is one of our repurchasers. Ruth 2:20. A repurchaser is a close male relative with a right to buy back a person or a property, such as a hereditary tract of land, before it is placed on the public market. Repurchase would keep the land in the family. Brother-in-law marriage was involved. If the repurchaser married Ruth, the inheritance would go to her firstborn, who would carry on the name of Naomi's deceased husband. Let us listen to the rest of this account, resuming in Ruth chapter 3, verse 1. Naomi is speaking to Ruth.
My daughter, ought I not to look for a resting place for you, that it may go well with you? And now, is not Boaz, with whose young women you have continued, our kinsman? Look, he is winnowing barley at the threshing floor tonight, and you must wash and rub yourself with oil, and put your mantles upon you, and go down to the threshing floor. Do not make yourself known to the man until he has finished eating and drinking. And it should occur that when he lies down, you must also take note of the place where he lies down. And you must come and uncover him at his feet and lie down. And he, for his part, will tell you what you ought to do.
All that you say to me, I shall do.
And she proceeded to go down to the threshing floor and to do according to all that her mother-in-law had commanded her. Meantime, Boaz ate and drank, and his heart was feeling good. Then he went to lie down at the extremity of the grain heap. After that she came stealthily and uncovered him at his feet and lay down. And it came about at midnight that the man began to tremble. So he bent himself forward, and look, a woman lying at his feet. Then he said, "Who are you?"
I am Ruth, your slave girl, and you must spread out your skirt over your slave girl, for you are a repurchaser.
Blessed may you be of Jehovah, my daughter. You have expressed your loving kindness better in the last instance than in the first instance, in not going after the young fellows, whether lowly or rich. And now, my daughter, do not be afraid. All that you say, I shall do for you. For everyone in the gate of my people is aware that you are an excellent woman. And now, while it is a fact that I am a repurchaser, there is also a repurchaser closer related than I am. Lodge here tonight, and it must occur in the morning that if he will repurchase you, fine. Let him do the repurchasing. But if he does not take delight in repurchasing you, I will then repurchase you. I myself, as sure as Jehovah lives. Keep lying down until the morning.
And she kept lying at his feet until the morning, and then got up before anyone could recognize another. He now said,
Do not let it be known that a woman came to the threshing floor. Bring the cloak that is on you, and hold it open.
So she held it open, and he proceeded to measure out 6 measures of barley, and to place it upon her. After which he went into the city, and she went her way to her mother-in-law, who now said,
Who are you, my daughter?
Accordingly, she told her everything that the man had done to her. And she went on to say,
These 6 measures of barley he gave me, for he said to me, do not come empty-handed to your mother-in-law.
Sit still, my daughter, until you know how the matter will turn out. For the man will have no rest unless he has brought the matter to an end today.
As for Boaz, he went up to the gate and began to sit there. And look, the repurchaser was passing by, whom Boaz had mentioned.
Do turn aside. Do sit down here, so-and-so.
Hence he turned aside and sat down. After that he took 10 men of the older men of the city and said,
Sit down here.
So they sat down.
the tract of the field that belonged to our brother Naaman, who has returned from the field of Moab, must sell. As for me, I thought that I should disclose it to you, saying, buy it in front of the inhabitants and the older men of my people. If you will repurchase it, repurchase it. But if you will not repurchase it, do tell me, that I may know, for there is no one else but you to do the repurchasing, and I am next to you.
I shall be the one to repurchase it.
On the day that you buy the field from Naomi's hand, it is also from Ruth, the Moabitess, the wife of the dead man, that you must buy it so as to cause the name of the dead man to rise upon his inheritance.
I am unable to repurchase it for myself, for fear I may ruin my own inheritance. You repurchase it for yourself, with my right of repurchase, because I am not able to do the repurchasing.
Now this was the custom of former times in Israel concerning the right of repurchase and concerning the exchange, to establish every sort of thing. A man had to draw his sandal off and give it to his fellow, and this was the attestation in Israel. So when the repurchaser said to Boaz, buy it for yourself, he proceeded to draw his sandal off. Then Boaz said to the older men and all the people,
you are witnesses today that I do buy all that belonged to Elimelech and all that belonged to Kilian and Mahlon from the hand of Naomi. Also Ruth, the Moabitess, the wife of Mahlon, I do buy for myself as a wife, to cause the name of the dead man to rise upon his inheritance, and that the name of the dead man may not be cut off from among his brothers and from the gate of his place. You are witnesses today.
At this, all the people that were in the gate and the older men said,
Witnesses! May Jehovah grant the wife who is coming into your house to be like Rachel and like Leah, both of whom built the house of Israel. And you prove your word in Ephraim and make a notable name in Bethlehem.
And may your house become like the house of Perez, whom Tamar bore to Judah from the offspring that Jehovah will give you out of this young woman.
Accordingly, Boaz took Ruth, and she became his wife, and he had relations with her. So Jehovah granted her conception, and she bore a son. And the women began to say to Naomi,
Blessed be Jehovah, who has not let a repurchaser fail for you today.
And was made proclaimed in Israel.
And he has become a restorer of your soul,
and one to nourish your old age.
because your daughter-in-law, who does love you, who is better to you than 7 sons, has given birth to him.
And Naomi proceeded to take the child, and to put it in her bosom, and she came to be its nurse. Then the neighbor ladies gave it a name, saying,
A son has been born to Naomi.
and they began to call his name Obed. He is the father of Jesse, David's father. Now these are the generations of Perez. Perez became father to Hezron, and Hezron became father to Ram, and Ram became father to Aminadab, and Aminadab became father to Nahshon, and Nahshon became father to Salmon, and Salmon became father to Boaz, and Boaz became father to Obed, and Obed became father to Jesse, and Jesse became father to David.
Frankel on
Okay. And there are lots of prizes inside. There's lots of sweets. Keep going. Keep going. Keep going. Keep going. Woo! Keep going. Keep going. Okay. When's it going to stop? When's it going to stop? When's it going to stop? Oh, hang on. We missed the one. Look. Okay.
50 years and above, right here. They are going to face a kind of questioning. So they are going to take a seat now, please. And we want to find out how well they know their spouses. Please have your seats. And leave that now.
Sister Jones, I just asked her this question. 40 years of marriage, what do you think it was like?
A bit rocky at times.
I think Sister Jones has been very diplomatic. Most times it was like really quicksand. When you're quicksand, it's only one thing you can do, but you look up. And every time we was in quicksand, we look up. And when we look up, Jehovah's hand was outstretched still. We got hold of it, and pulled us out, and here we are today. So Jehovah's hand is outstretched for each and every one of us, wherever we be in quicksand. But now we'll get on with it, with the little quiz. The first couple, please. Take your seat. Yes! Sister Jones. Come on, give it to me. Come on. That's yours. Now, we'll ask the question, Sister Johnson, Brother Johnson, Mr. and Mrs. If, for example, if I say, well, who snores the loudest? What you do, blue is for male, red is for the female. That was for you. So it's ready to be. Who is most likely to want the back wash when in the bath? I think we know what Brother Johnson is. Give them a round of applause for these brothers right now. Next couple, please. Brother Rankin, next please, come on. So sometimes when you go on holidays, funny things happen. I'll just tell you this before we ask the question, Brother Rankin. My cousin and I went to Belgium for holiday. We got there, and we got to the coast, crowd of people. We went into the reception. Quiet, please! Another coach came, got out of the coach and went into the reception as well. The receptionist came to the counter and he says, Jones! I stepped forward with my wife. 6 other couples stepped forward. Turned out they were from Wales. Anybody from Wales here, I'm not taking it. Oh! And that's exactly how it happened. The bloke from Wales says to me, are you Jones as well? I said, I am. So he said to the receptionist, which Jones is it? Tom? Dave? Dick? The receptionist says, Tom Jones. So I stepped forward. My wife stepped forward. So the chap from Wales says to his friend, he says, come here, boyo. He said, come here, boyo. We've got one of them here, he said. We've got Tom Jones. You're not going to sing, are you? He says, tell us, Tom Jones, he says, which part of the valleys are you from? I said, I'm from Top Valley, Nottingham. And that is true. Brother Rankin, I've come to Sister Rankin. How long have you been married? 62 years, I think. 62 years, brothers and sisters. Wow! 58. Sister Rankin deserves a medal. Brother Rankin, he deserves 2 medals. We'll come to the question now about Sister Rankin. Red? Is it female? Blue? Male? First question. Who makes the most noise in the house? That wasn't a match, Brother Rankin. You're not getting to away with that. I think Sister Rankin is right. Don't you, brothers? The next question, who is the best cook? How many years have they been married? 58 years! Well, American said he could boil eggs. Wonderful point. Right? Next question, who always tries to have the last word? We know that Jehovah says the husband is the head of the house. But in the world, there's a different phraseology. So the question is this: who wears the trousers in your house? Excellent, excellent. After 58 years, so that means, brothers and sisters, there's room for all of you. So don't worry when after 20 years you make a mistake. After 58 years, you still can. But remember, Jehovah's hand is outstretched still. Next question, who is the most adventurous in the two? Who is the most wow, well done. Round of applause, round of applause. One more question, Brother Rankin. I think you'll enjoy that one. Who is the best dancer? Whoa! So please, a round of applause for Brother and Sister Rankin. Thank you very much for taking that. Next couple, please.
Thank you ever so much. You're welcome. Thank you. Thank you. I'm just saying bye to everyone.
So don't ask him the love question. He's still making his mind up. So, Brother Andy Orchard, how long have you been married? Let us know, please.
1 week and 3-4 days.
How long have you been married, Brother Andy Orchard?
We went on holiday last week.
How long have you been married?
That's the one.
Didn't know, did it? Chris? How long have you been married?
50 years next Friday.
50 years next Friday. Brother Orchard, tell us please, are you blissfully happy? He procrastinated, so this is what we need to do. I need you to clap your hands. When I say, if you're happy and you know it, clap your hands. If you're happy and you know it, clap your hands. If you're happy and you know it and you really want to show it, if you're happy and you know it, clap your hands. Oh! Now he's happy, right? So that's the question now. First question. Who reads the most? Yeah, that's for a woman. Oh! Well, the next question. Who spends the most time looking in the mirror?
It's a woman.
Oh! Right, the next question. Who is the first to make up after a fallout?
I don't understand the question.
Bonjour, monsieur. Who is the first to to make up after a fallout. After an argument, after a misunderstanding. Earlier on, we said Sister Rankin needed 1 medal. We gave Brother Rankin 2 medals. We're giving Andy 4 medals. But Chris, we're giving you 20 medals. We have 2 more questions. Be very serious. Right, that's it. Right, no joking. Who have the most beauty product in the house? Well done. I don't like when you put any hands there. That's it. Well, the next one is, who is best at the silent treatment? I'm not talking to you. Oh! Expert at it. He says he's an expert. Please, how long does it last, the silent treatment? Depends. What Sister Orchid is saying, in winter time, Siberia is in the middle of the bed. So, and most of us go through that, where Siberia becomes the middle of the bed, and you then put your legs in. I'm not talking to you. Next question, please. Last question. Who is the most fun to be with? Oh, give him a round of applause, man. Thank you very much. But sit down, and it's not finished yet. You've taken part, and you need your prize.
Let me say bye.
And the next couple was Brother Andy Orchard and Sister Chris. So we've got 1 prize left, brothers and sisters, just 1. Anybody wants it? No, it has to be a couple. You have to come up here. Any couple want this prize? Come on.
He's got his tongue in the red.
The last prize to be given. Take your seat, take your seat. Come on, sister, take your seat in the house. Who is the most annoying? Honest? Oh! Look at humility in that brother's heart. Now, a few more questions. Who is most likely to deal with a spider in the house? Oh! Well, who looks the best in the morning? Oh! Well done. Now, this is a good one. We want the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. Who snores the loudest? Oh! A round of applause, brothers. Well done. So, here you are. That's your prize. Thank you for taking part. That's the end of this session, brothers. Thank you very much.